Hi, and welcome to the Healthy Relationships channel where I discuss everything about relationships, breakups, how to heal, how to cope, and move forward. I started thinking about marriage counseling today, and I really want to commend all those couples that come to marriage counseling and hang in there because it's not easy. It's a challenge to sit there and face your feelings, talk about the uncomfortable things, especially with a stranger that you are trusting all of this information to. Couples get to therapy once they are exhausted. They tend to come after experiencing several years of unhappiness, conflict, distance, feeling unheard, misunderstood, and by the time you get to couples therapy, you're fatigued and you want things to work out. The progress does not happen right away. It happens after several months of being committed, of working, of learning how to be vulnerable, learning how to manage your emotions, learning how to communicate in a way that is conducive to a healthy relationship where there's mutual trust and empathy. After this is starting to flow, you will see the progress. In the meantime, here are some concepts to think about to start helping your relationship move towards that progress that you want to see. It's not easy to work on your relationship, so I wanted to share two concepts that I think would help you understand your spouse a little bit better and understand how to cope through those real difficult situations. So two things that I want to mention are, one, the idealized version of your relationship versus the reality of your relationship. And the other one is learning to focus on what's good about the relationship and your spouse instead of staying in this doom and gloom cycle of negativity. So when we're focusing on the reality of the relationship and moving away from the idealized version of the relationship, we start to feel a little more grounded because we understand what we're working with. If we really take the time to get to know our spouse and to understand what they're bringing to the table, that helps us to increase empathy. So remember that both of you come from very different families, different backgrounds, different life experiences, all from your time of conception, even while you were in the womb until now. Learning to understand that each of you experienced traumas, attachment injuries, some emotional neglect, physical abuse, all kinds of situations that really intensified and caused a lot of stress in each other's lives is really important to keep in the forefront of your mind. All of these things emerge in the relationship through your behaviors, through the arguing, communication, the way that you express your love, the way that you might avoid one another, the way that you might withhold love when you're angry, the way that you go from 0 to 60 at the mention of anything, or it can be something very trivial, right? And we see this happen because, couples will come to therapy and they'll say things like, we had this huge fight, but I don't even know what the fight is about. Most likely that's the experience of being triggered about the past. And that needs to be carefully looked at and considered and handled with a lot of care and with a lot of sensitivity. So keeping those things in mind will really help you to have more empathy for your spouse and understand that they're struggling with a world of experience and it tends to show up in your arguments. And so understanding that can really help you approach one another with more empathy, with patience, and the awareness that you need to work on yourselves. Okay, so focusing on what's good about your spouse and the relationship. I love this because this helps you to stay out of the negative cycle, the doom and gloom, looping of ideas, memories, and arguments that you had that can set you off into this very negative and even depressed mood. And now you have this going on, you're walking with this mood all throughout the day, and now you're approaching your spouse this way. And so it's very important that you catch yourself from spiraling down this rabbit hole of thoughts and negativity about the relationship. You've been in the relationship this long. There are some things that are working. I'm not referring to physically and emotionally abusive relationships. This is something completely different. So I'm omitting those type of relationships. But if you're in a relationship that is not abusive, even though you have arguments, even though there's some distance, there are some things that are working because you're still in it. And so it's important that we focus on those things because we need to have a mindset of gratitude. We need to spend time in those areas of the relationship because that starts to help us relax our body, relax our mind, and it brings us a full picture of what the relationship is instead of fragmenting the experiences of the relationship and just focusing on the negative. And so it's very important that we have a balanced view of the relationship. Having a more balanced view of the relationship helps us see our spouse complete rather than just laser focusing on all of their flaws. Having an approach of gratitude sets you off in the right direction and even changes your mood and changes the way that you approach your spouse, which in turn will change the way that they approach you. So thinking about how you influence one another with your moods, with your actions, with your words, and acknowledging this on a daily helps you to take responsibility for your behaviors, and that is a real good place to start. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome day. Take care.